Peace and blessing to all the viewers. We give all honor and glory to the Most High. So today's episode is going to be on salvation to the Gentiles. So you're going to learn three things today. You're going to learn in a chronological order when, how, and why salvation was given to the Gentiles. Without further ado, let's get into it. Gentile. The word Gentiles means the nations and eventually came to be used to mean all those not of the house of Israel. It is first used in Genesis with reference to the descendant of Japheth. As used throughout the scriptures, it has a dual meaning, sometimes to designate peoples of non-Israelite lineage, and other times to designate nations that are without the gospel, even though there may be some Israelite blood therein. This latter usage is especially characteristic of the word as used in the Book of Mormon. So basically, the word Gentile means someone from a non-Israelite heritage, or someone from a non-Bantu heritage. So any non-Bantu person would be classified a Gentile. For example, in Africa, if you're someone from Chad, you will be considered as Gentile. Someone from Sudan, Somalia, mostly Ethiopia, you will be classified a Gentile. If you're someone from a European descent or basically a Caucasian, you will be classified a Gentile. So before we delve into the topic, I want to clear something up real quick. I want to remind you that when the Messiah was on the scene, he was not dealing with the Gentiles. I talked about this in the previous video. These 12 Yahshua sent forth and commanded them, saying, "Go not into the way of the Gentiles, and into any city of the Samaritan enter ye not, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." But he answered and said, "I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So this is the response of the Messiah when he was on earth. That was his response to the Gentile. "I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." So now let's delve into the main topic. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. He saw in a vision evidently about the 9th hour of the day an angel of God coming in to him and saying unto him, "Cornelius." And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, "What is, Lord?" And he said unto him, "Thy prayers and thy alms are come up for a memorial before God. And now send men to Joppa and call for one Simeon, whose surname is Peter." So basically, Cornelius is a Gentile that was living amongst the Israelites. He was a God-fearing Gentile man that was giving alms and offerings to the Israelites. And he had a vision in which he saw an angel that told him to go and look for Peter. An angel of God appeared unto him and said, "Hey, go up and meet Peter." He lodged with one Simeon, a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. He shall tell thee what you should do. And when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called 2 of his household servants and a devout soldier of them that waited on him continually. And when he had declared all these things unto them, he sent them to Joppa. On tomorrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh unto the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour, and he became very hungry and would have eaten. But while they made ready, he fell into trance. So Cornelius explained to his men what actually happened. He told them about the vision that he had, where he saw the angels. And he sent those men up to go and look for Simeon. And as they were coming near to the city of Peter, Peter was very hungry. Peter was starving to death, and he wanted to eat. He was so hungry that he passed out and he fell into a trance. So I want to remind you real quick that Peter is aka Simeon, and saw heaven open and certain vessel descending upon him, as he had been a great sheet knit at the four corners and let down to the earth, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts, and creeping things, and fowls of the air. And there came a voice to him, Rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, Not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. And the voice spake unto him again the second time, What God hath cleansed, that you call not common. So Peter, aka Simeon, he passed out and had a vision. And in a vision, he saw all types of beasts, all types of animals being presented to him. And the voice of the Most High came unto him and said, Get up and kill those animals and go ahead and eat, since you're hungry. But in a vision, Peter said, he said no to the Most High, said no to the angel, that he have never eaten anything like this. He has never eaten any unclean meat or unclean animals. And the voice said unto him and said, What the Most High has cleansed, you should not call it unclean. This was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. And now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simeon's house, and stood before the gate and called, and asked whether Simeon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. While Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said unto him, Behold, 3 men seek thee. Arise therefore and get thee down and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. So basically, the vision that Peter received was actually symbolic. It was a message that was given to him by the Most High concerning Cornelius the Gentiles. It was a message that he was supposed to be delivering to Cornelius, because I remember the angel initially appeared to Cornelius, telling him to go up and meet Peter. So the vision that Peter received in return was the message that was supposed to be given to Cornelius. So now Cornelius' men are going after Peter to take him back to Caesarea. And as Peter was doubting in his vision, the Spirit talked to him and said, Hey, I'm the one who's responsible of this. I'm the one who set that up. So just go with them and doubt nothing anymore, because I am the one responsible for this. I set them up, so just go with them. That's what the Spirit says. Then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius, and said, Behold, I am he whom ye seek. what is the cause wherefore ye have come? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, a one that feared God and of good report among all the nation of the Jews, was warned from God by an holy angel to send for thee into his house, and to hear word of thee. Then called he them in, and lodged them. And on the morrow Peter went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. So now Peter is going up to meet with Cornelius to deliver the message that was given to him by the angels in a vision. And tomorrow, after they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them, and he had called together his kinsmen and near friends. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshiped him. But Peter took him up, saying, Stand up, I myself also am a man. So now Peter is meeting with Cornelius. And as soon as Cornelius saw Peter, he fell down and started worshiping Peter, aka Simon. And Peter said, No, you're not supposed to be doing that. I'm just a man like you. Don't do that. Get up. And the reason why Cornelius did this, because he knows his position in regards to the Israelite, or in regards to the Most High. And he understood that the Israelites were the chosen people of God. So he respected that. And then he knew that the Israelites were very important people. So that's why he fell down and started worshiping Peter. But Peter said, No, you get up. I'm just a man like you. And as he talked with them, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, Ye know how that is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But God has showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So now everybody came together. Cornelius along with his people. They were standing by Peter. And now Peter is telling them, Ye know, ye Gentiles, you Cornelius, along with the rest of the Gentiles, you know that it is not lawful for us Israelites to be keeping company to you Gentiles, to even come closer to you. You know that. Why? Because the Messiah never taught Peter that. The Messiah never taught the prophet to be keeping company to the Gentile. And this is further proof that the Messiah was not sent for the Gentiles, but only to the Israelite. And that's why the Messiah sent the prophet, the 12 apostles, not to go to the Gentiles, but only to the house of Israel. But now the Most High is changing the script. The Most High has an agenda to visit or to extend salvation to the Gentiles through Cornelius and Peter. So that was the first time for the Most High to visit the Gentile, starting with Cornelius. The dream that Peter received, where he saw all the wild animals, all type of animals in the dream, those dreams represent the Gentiles. These unclean meats and animals represent the Gentile, because the Gentiles have always been unclean. The Gentiles have always been common. They've always been unclean in eating those animals. So those animals represent the Gentiles. So that's why the Most High says in the vision, what God has cleansed, do not call it unclean or common anymore. Because the Most High had an agenda to extend salvation to the Gentiles. So the Gentiles are not to be called unclean anymore. That's what he means. That's what he means. You can't take this literally, because if you take that literally, you're going to misinterpret the whole meaning behind this doctrine. You're going to misinterpret the meaning of it. You don't want to take that literally. The vision that he had, it represents the Gentile. It was symbolic. This dream was symbolic. It represents the Gentile. The unclean meat, a wild animal, represent the Gentile, because the Gentiles are considered wild. They've also been wild and unclean. So that's why they say, the Most High say, what God has cleansed, do not call it common or unclean anymore. This is the first time that the Most High visited the Gentile, starting with Cornelius, not during the time of the Messiah, not during the time of Christ. Simeon have declared how God at the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his names. This is further proof that the vision that Peter received was pertaining to the Gentiles. This is further proof that those wild animals represented the Gentiles, that the Most High wanted to cleanse and to take out of them a people for his name. And now Simeon is letting you know that the Most High had declared to him first when he wanted to visit the Gentiles, starting with Cornelius. So this is exactly when salvation was extending to the Gentiles, starting with Cornelius in Acts the 10th chapter. So now we're going to see how salvation was actually given to the Gentiles. I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. So this is Paul, the apostle Paul, the apostle of the Gentile. He's speaking to the Gentiles right now, specifically to the Roman. He said, have God cast away his people? Just like the Christian church love to say that God has cast away his people. Now there's neither Jew nor Greek, that everybody is just the same in the fold. But that's not what it means. Paul himself is letting you know that God has not cast away his people. That's why he said God forbid, which means no. But Isaiah is very bold and said, I was fine of them that sought me not. I was made manifest unto them that ask not after me. But to Israel he said, all day long I have stretched forth my hands unto a disobedient and gainsaying people. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall salvation is come unto the Gentiles. Have they stumbled that they should fall? Meaning that the Israelite didn't fall so bad that they would not be able to get back up. The Israelite didn't fall so bad to the point where they're not going to be able to get back up. But rather through their falls, to their fall, salvation was extending to the Gentile. That's what it means. That's how salvation was given to the Gentiles. Through the fall of the Israelite. The Israelite fell by worshiping other gods. The Most High put the curse on the Israelite and he made them blind, so that the salvation was extending to the Gentile. So basically the Most High sacrificed his own people to extend salvation to the Gentiles. Let me say it again. The Most High sacrificed his own people, the Israelites, in order to extend salvation to the Gentiles. And that was prophesied long ago. So this is exactly how salvation was extended to the Gentile. Salvation was extended to the Gentile through the fall of the Israelites. The Israelites fell, they stumbled by worshiping other God. And that's when the Most High take advantage of the fall of the Israelite, of his own people, and extend salvation to the Gentile. Now, let's look at the reason why salvation was given to the Gentiles. But I say, did not Israel know? First Moses said, I will provoke you to jealousy by them there are no people, and by a foolish nation I will anger you. They have moved me to jealousy, which is not God. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. So what you're going to find out is that the first reason why salvation was extended to the Gentiles was to provoke the children of Israel to jealousy. That was one of the reasons, because the Israelite provoked the Most High to jealousy by worshiping other God. That's why he said they moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. We moved the Most High to jealousy in worshiping other gods. That's what he said. So in return, the Most High has moved us, the Israelite, to jealousy by extending salvation to the Gentile, to a foolish nation, because that's how the Most High considered these people. With a foolish nation, someone that is not people, that is not God's people. So this is the first reason why salvation was extended to the Gentile, to provoke the children of Israel to jealousy. So that when the jealousy comes on them, they're going to get back to the Most High and keep the commandment. This is the point. That's why the Most High provoked them to jealousy, to provoke the Israelites to jealousy, so that when the jealousy came on them, they will come back to the Most High, keep the commandment, and take advantage of the blessing of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now I am speaking to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles. I magnify my office, in order somehow to make my fellow Jews jealous, and thus save some of them. So Paul is speaking to the Gentiles. If you listen, you Gentiles out there, Paul is speaking unto you right now. He said, I'm doing what I have to do in order to make my fellow Israelite jealous. Just like the prophecy says. In order to make my fellow Jews jealous, so I might save some of them, if it may be possible. This is the point. Paul is letting you know, the Gentiles, that he's doing what he has to do in order to save some of his people by making them jealous. So that's why he's preaching the word to the Gentiles. Paul is preaching the word to the Gentiles because he want to make the children of Israel jealous, in order to save some of them, if it may be possible. And this was all done by the Most High. The Most High is responsible for that, because the Most High is the one provoking the children of Israel to jealousy. And that's one of the ways that the Most High used in order to provoke the Israelites to jealousy, by using Paul as the apostle of the Gentiles to preach to the Gentiles. Simeon has declared how God had the first did visit the Gentiles to take out of them a people for his name. And to this agreed the word of the prophet, as it is written. So now Simeon is about to quote something in the Old Testament in regards to the Gentiles. And now you're going to find out the second reason why the Gentiles receive the salvation. And to this agree the word of the prophet, as it is written. After this I will return, and I will build again the tabernacle of David, which is fallen down, and I will build again the ruins thereof, and I will set it up, that the residue of man might seek after the Lord, and all the Gentiles upon whom my name is called, said the Lord, who do all these things. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build up as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom and all of the heathen which are called by my name, saith the Lord, that do all these things. So what you're going to come to realize is that the Most High is taken out of the Gentiles certain people that's going to be called by his name to be a possession of the Israelite in the kingdom of heaven. Let me say it again. The Most High is taking out some Gentiles to be a possession to the children of Israel. The remnant of Edom, the so-called white man. The so-called white people, Caucasian, they're going to be servant and handmaid into the kingdom of heaven to the Israelite. This is the second reason why salvation was given to the Gentiles, so that they could be a possession for the Israelite. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servant and handmaid, and shall take them captives whose captives they were, and shall rule over their oppressors. So all the people, the Europeans that put Africa, or the Bantu people in Africa, into slavery and took the family away from them into the U.S. and into the Caribbean island and all across the globe, all these people are going to be servant and handmaid to the Israelite in the kingdom of heaven. That is the second reason why the Most High extended salvation to the Gentile. The first reason was to provoke the Israelites to jealousy. The second reason is for them to be servant and handmaid, and to be a possession for the Israelite in the kingdom of heaven. That's it. That's it. For you Gentiles out there, if you are watching this, you need to understand that, and you need to accept the position. But the problem is the Gentiles are so pride and stubborn that they're not going to be able to accept their position in regards to the Most High. They're not going to be accepting it. But that was the reason why, to be a servant and handmaid to the Israelite in the kingdom of heaven. That's it. That I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart, for I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ, from my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law, and the service of God and the promises. Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them be riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? So Paul is telling the Gentiles that if the fall of the Israelites has been so beneficial to the world, or if the Gentiles have taken advantage of the fall of the Israelites, how is it going to be when they wake up? How is it going to be when they wake up? That's what he's telling the Gentiles. That's what he was warning the Gentiles about. The Lord called thy name a green olive tree, fair and of goodly fruit. With the noise of a great tumult, he had kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. So the Most High is calling the children of Israel a green olive tree, a good olive tree, where the branches of it are broken. For the Lord of hosts that planted thee hath pronounced evil against thee, for the evil of the house of Israel and of the house of Judah, which they have done against themselves to provoke me to anger in offering incense unto Baal. So the Most High called the children of Israel a olive tree. But now the branches of the olive tree are broken off. Why? Because we provoked the Most High to anger by offering incense or worshiping Baal or all these other satanic gods. That's when the branches were broken off. The Most High called the children of Israel a good olive tree. But now the branches are broken off through worshiping Baal and Satan. And if some of the branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, he's talking about the Gentile. You Gentile being a wild olive tree, because Israel is a good olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partake of the root and fatness of the olive tree. Which means that you were taken off of the wild olive tree and were grafted in among the good olive tree, and are partaking of the root and fatness of the olive tree, which means you are going to be joining with the children of Israel and taking advantage of the blessings of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That's what it means. For if thou were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, so you Gentiles, if you were taken away, you were taken off of your wild olive tree, which is wild by nature, because the Israelite, the Gentiles are wild by nature. They're just wild by nature. This is obvious. You can obviously see how wild the Gentiles are. For example, the Gentile, they're the one who introduced the zodiac signs, horoscope. They're the one who introduced gay marriages, and they used to be looking into the stars, into the sky, and create gods out of it. They're the one who introduced this thing to the world. So that's why the scripture calls them wild. They're wild by nature. This is common sense. And were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree. So you Gentile were taken out of your wild olive tree and were grafted in contrary to nature. The Gentile were grafted it. They were grafted it contrary to nature into a good olive tree of the Israelite. How much more shall these, which be the natural branches, be grafted into their own olive tree? Which means that the Most High is not going to have any problem to graft back the Israelite into their own olive tree. The Most High is going to accept all the Israelite. Any Israelite that's going to get back up, even though there's going to be only a remnant that's going to be saved. For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceit, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentile be coming in. So Paul said to the Gentile, don't be ignorant, you Gentiles out there, lest you be puffed up with pride. Because you have to understand that the Most High is doing that for a reason. The Most High has sacrificed his own people in order for you to receive salvation. Meaning that the Most High made the Israelite blind so that the door can be open to the Gentiles. And when the Israelite is going to get back up, going to wake up out of their sleep, then the door is going to be closed for the Gentiles. When the Most High is going to give a spiritual eyes and ears to the Israelite to wake up out of the sleep, the doors is going to be shut for the Gentiles. Meaning that at this hour, the door is being shut in the last day, because we are in the last day. The door is being shut for the Gentiles, because the Most High is waking up his people. The fullness of the Gentile is already up. The fullness of the Gentile is already reached. Is already reached, because the Most High is waking up his people in these last days. The Most High is waking up the elect of the children of Israel in these last days. So that means that the fullness of the Gentile is already reached. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression in Jacob, saith the Lord. As for me, this is my covenant with them, saith the Lord. My spirit that is upon thee, and my words which I have put in your mouth, shall not depart out of your mouth, nor out of your mouth of the seed of your seed, nor out of the mouth of your seed's seed, saith the Lord, from henceforth and forever. So basically, all Israel is going to be saved when it's all said and done. All Israel, all 12 tribes of Israel are going to be saved. When the fullness of the Gentile be coming in, at the end of the day, all Israelites are going to be saved. That don't mean that every single Israel is going to be saved. We're talking about the 12 tribes of Israel are going to be saved. But only a remnant of every single tribe is going to be saved, as it is written. Oh, that the salvation of Israel will come out of Zion, when the Lord bring back the captivity of his people. Jacob shall rejoice, and Israel shall be glad. So hopefully you understood this lesson, the chronological order on how, when, and why the Gentiles received salvation. So hopefully you've been edified. Take notes. If you didn't understand anything about this video, you just drop a comment and I will respond to that as soon as possible. And thank you for tuning in again, and stay tuned for the next video, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the future videos. So with that, I say peace and blessings.